All right, welcome everybody. As you guys know, Dart's going to be out this week and maybe next week as well. I'm going to do my best to run and manage the show. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're watching us from. We kind of picked a random topic this week. Dart kind of asked me, and the way I kind of put it is, let's do an airing of the grievances like Seinfeld. And so we thought grinding my gears would be a good title for us to do. Maybe just kind of vent and rant about some things that bother us in the NBA or sports in general, right? So we'll go around, see how you guys are doing, give a little intro. Maybe you want to shout out your channel. Steam Engine, how you doing today?
Good afternoon or good morning to at least one of you. I am beautiful this morning. Beautiful, beautiful. Shout out to @Steam Engine. I never plug myself, so that's one.
AOH, how you doing?
Good morning. Angry Old Hoops. I think is that my whole channel? Anyway, if you don't know by now. Yeah, good morning. Just I was actually hoping to listen to you guys. I was hoping there was a bigger panel. I was going to listen to everyone else's grievances, but I've got plenty. You know I have plenty. Right.
Yeah, we might be short and sweet today, so we'll just see how it goes. No pressure. We thought the least we could do is bring some content, right? So, Speem, you want to start us off? You got something you want to lead us off with?
Yeah. I'm going to start with, I'm going to keep it basketball centric, and I'm going to start with Reggie Miller. I can't stand him, and I'm not sure what test audience networks like go to and find out that he's the preferred person to be on TV. It's been going on, and this isn't even like a LeBron thing. Like, dude repeats himself about anything and everything. His voice is like something I can't even explain. I don't know. I don't understand it. So I'm going to start with him because he's had this contract forever. He brings to me, he brings nothing to the table in terms of comedy or creativity. He's just difficult to listen to. Hard to watch, actually.
And so, to be clear, you're talking about him as a broadcaster. How did you feel about him as a player?
I think I might have hated him worse as a player.
Really?
Yeah. So, as a Bulls fan, I will say, from a 3-point standpoint, just this dude that can go around a pick and catch and release and shoot lights out. He's killing the Bulls. I'm like, oh, I can't stand this dude. But that was more of like a sign of respect. Because he was kind of, I don't want to say Steph, but he was like the dude that ran up and down around screens. He was like Rip Hamilton before Rip Hamilton, except better.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to. I'm just going to talk in general, but this made me think of this. I think shooters have like this unearned sort of thing that they're smarter, or like point guards are automatically because they have to know more or call the plays or something. I think there's a bit of a bias towards guards that they just are smarter or kind of know the game a little better. They're not just brutes down low or something. I don't think that's necessarily true, but I do get that feeling that, guards are like a little, we know the game inside and out. And like, you just shoot hook shots, right? And dunks, and you don't get it, right? I think there's a little bit of bias of that in the game a little bit.
Currently or in the past? Because I would say most people say that like Jokic is probably the smartest player in the league.
I would say more current in the more guard heavy league, but I was thinking more from an announcing standpoint, right? I think like on TV, maybe guards, they're not like these big hulking guys that you can't relate to, and guards kind of come off more normal or
from a marketing standpoint.
They're the finesse guys, right? A little bit more than like big. They come off a little more clean on camera in a way. I think there's like a little bit of a bias to that.
Well, yeah. What centers were announcers? I can think of Bill Walton.
Yeah, and I think of Shaq, but he's almost more of like a prop,
Yeah, but see, Shaq's terrible.
Yeah,
like you have to just accept Shaq at entertainment value, but as in terms of providing like intelligent play-by-play, he would never be able to do it.
Right.
I just added him to my list. I should have started with him.
His insecurity is becoming insufferable.
Yeah, I don't have a big opinion on Reggie Miller though as an announcer. I don't necessarily like him. He doesn't like stand out to me. He kind of just comes off as a guy they hired because he's maybe just somewhat likable in a way. I'm not sure.
He didn't
I
bother
think
me that much until he couldn't keep LeBron James off of his lips.
his teeth bother me too. That's probably something separate.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Every time I think of Reggie Miller, I think of Cheryl Miller. I don't. That's probably a really big diss to him. But one of the greatest stories I ever heard was I can't remember where I read it, but Reggie Miller dropped like 60, 70 points in an AAU game or something, and he was just beside himself. And he goes and tells his sister. Apparently, she had dropped 100 in an AAU game, is the rumor, something like that. But he might technically still be the second best player in his family, right? He might even admit that.
I think he would admit that just based on context. Cheryl Miller was a beast.
Yeah, it's really a shame she didn't have the WNBA around whenever she was at her peak.
And she'd average, oh my gosh.
Yeah, man, talk about Caitlin Clark and her. Like, it'd be really nice. It'd be interesting to see Cheryl Miller play in today's league, WNBA.
It'd be like Wilt in there.
Hey, speaking of glazing, did you hear they were actually considering putting Colin Cowherd and Nick Wright together?
Well, they were for a while already, weren't they, on Cowherd's show? Like, didn't Nick Wright speak on their
actual official host together, or as a guest coming on?
As like a guest, but it was basically every day.
No, I'm talking about it's going to be official, which is just crazy. I mean, it's just going to be LeBron day and night.
Is that going to be on ESPN?
I don't know. I mean, it's not
beyond the shop.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, OH, you got one that you wanna vent on?
Yeah, I'll throw two out off the top of my head. One is that you have to explain things that shouldn't have to be explained to today's fans, to LeBron fans. Like, I shouldn't have to explain to people why it is douchey for today's players to talk shit to people that they'll never be able to prove their shit talking to. You know, talking trash to 60, 70, 80-year-old men or even dead people. Yeah, there is no value in the woulda, shoulda, coulda. Like, I would have won if, or I'd be better than so-and-so if. If you can't prove it, don't talk about it. Why do I have to explain that? Yeah, you know, a lot of people say because of lack of dads in the household, but look, it's America. How many households have complete marriages anymore? Just stop being stupid. You don't talk trash about things that you can't prove. The second one is these people not being able to understand the difference between the greatest scorer and someone who has a scoring record. Because LeBron James had 21 years to be the leading scorer in the league, and he did it once. How do you only do that once and be referred to as the greatest scorer? You know, he stuck around a really long time. Things have gotten easier for him. They've surrounded him with great players. They have conformed the rules for him so he can keep playing and keep resting and keep accumulating points. But it's a pretty clear difference to me, someone who actually leads the league in scoring versus someone who just stuck around a long time and accumulated points. Again, how does that have to be explained that there's a difference there? And the same thing with assists. You know, he's a great passer. He led the league in assists once. Do you guys know what year that was?
2020.
That was early, wasn't it?
2020.
No.
Isn't that weird?
2020.
Is that not weird? Does that not make you a little bit suspicious?
A little bit.
It was all over TV too.
Of course it was.
There was they ran a parade for it, and, you know, assist champion.
Yeah, this kind of goes to my peak versus, you're kind of hinting on it, the peak versus accumulation, right? I mean, LeBron's only twice, like you just mentioned, led the league for any stat, and Jordan did it 10 times, right?
10.
And yeah, I've always just said the peak. I don't know if SVP technically coined this, but he always said, how good was your good? something like that. I'm sure that's been a phrase for a long time though. But that's kind of how I view it, right? Once you've done something for 3, 4, 5 years, to me, that's big enough to say, okay, let's look at this sample and how good was your good during your time. And that's always been why that's one of the biggest things with MJ, in my opinion, why he's the best, is that his peak was just utter dominance for, 10 plus years. Right. So yeah, that's always, I agree with that. I don't like the, someone who's never reached the same highs and peaks as someone else is somehow better than them because they just did it for a few years longer. Like, yeah, I agree. That argument's never resonated with me whatsoever.
Hey, since we have a small panel, we could put the call link up early and see if anyone has anything specific to add to any of this.
100%. I'll put it in right now. I think it should pop up.
Want to piggyback off that talking trash thing. I think the low hanging fruit example is always the, LeBron, I can win the scoring title whenever I want comment. But to me, actually, the most egregious, at least in my recent memory, was John Morant, saying he could cook Jordan. Or John Morant said, we got the West, we're not worried, blah, blah, blah. And not one person called him out, of course, at the end of the season, at least publicly. And that's so weird to me.
Well, surely somebody did. Maybe not
publicly, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually like when people have had those conversations in the past, right? Like I remember Jordan got asked that and he was like, well, I'd probably want to play Kobe because he's the closest to like me. He's the closest to my skill set. So it's like a sign of respect usually when they've done it, right? Like, oh, if Shaq and AI ever played one-on-one, if you asked AI, he'd probably be like, well, I'd have to do this, and somehow negate that. And Shaq would be like, yeah, I'd have to use this to my advantage. But out here, I'd be at a weakness. Like it's always been kind of a give or take. And like these days, yeah, it just seems like, well, I'm just better. Like we're just better. That is the new generation more than I think I've ever heard it before. And it is a little unbecoming a little bit. All right, we do have a caller. YT Hoops, go ahead. You got something you wanna air your grievances or something you want to comment on?
Yeah, no. I just wanted to say hello. It's nice to see the channel back on. Wishing Dart well wherever I don't know if he's on deployment or what. But no, I wanted to just echo what AOH was saying, where it's like, here's the thing, right? These guys, they're professional athletes. I get it. They all have UGQs, right? But there's something, just to have like an ounce of class. Like even if you think you smoke everyone from the past, like dude, fair enough. I get it, right? Just don't say it. Like you're talking about men. I mean, seeing like Jerry West and Bob Cousy having to like speak up, you felt bad. It was like, dude, why are you insulting these people? It's so unnecessary. It doesn't make you look better. It makes you look like a classless dirtbag. So just wanted to echo AOH's sentiment. That really pisses me off as well. But that's all.
All right, thanks, man.
You got it. Peace.
We've said this before. I mean, how do you just not understand that you don't talk trash to your elders? And it's not even like, your dad who you hate or something like that. It's elders that you don't even know. You have no reason to be disrespectful to them.
Bro, elders these days are like 12 years older than the generation before them. There's no there's not a big enough generational divide, and there's certainly no respect. I don't want to see your bare feet again on the show. I don't think anybody else does either. AOH.
What, did my feet show? Sorry,
they sure did.
Oh.
They sure did. I had a really good point. I was going to
say something real quick though.
No,
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I did want to say this. I kind of mentioned it pre-show. Dart's done a lot of work on this whole restream thing, so I just want to point that out. Big shout out to Dart for always doing this for us.
Shout out to Dart.
Yeah.
You got to say his saying, though. You got to do it exactly how he does it.
Yeah, you missed the opening.
Are the best.
You're right. There we go.
I should have done Maverick fans are the best or something like that.
He wouldn't let the show come on.
You cancel it.
What was I going to say? What I can't stand is whenever you talk about player salaries, it doesn't matter what the sport is. If you're a fan of a certain player and someone talks about that player's salary, the immediate response is always, don't count that man's pockets, blah, blah, blah. But let it be somebody that you can't stand. In AOH, we brought this up on Tuesday or Wednesday show, whatever day that was. Whenever you bring up somebody you dislike, it's all about, oh, how much does he make? He makes too much. But if it's the other way around, oh, don't count his pockets, let that man spend his money how he wants to. That's the most irritating thing in the world. And that's almost always their response to a lot of the LeBron arguments is, don't let him, don't count his pockets. But just change the name and see what they say.
Similar to that is the commentators or, the sports analysts always saying he's got to get paid. You've got to pay that person, as if they weren't being paid, as if these guys were in huts or something trying to earn a chance to get paid. I mean, they're all being overpaid from the get-go, and they finally deliver on what they were supposed to deliver on for the money they're already receiving. And the storyline is, oh, you need to pay these guys now.
And I just to quickly piggyback on that too, I've always said that if I have to pinpoint what the divide is these days, I think between the older and younger in terms of, let's just say basketball in general, but for most of all sports, I think it is that, again, sports has become such a business, especially, I'm only mid-30s, just in my lifetime, where it's come from the 90s to now, right? It's an insane footprint now. And I think that one of the big dividing lines is that guys are getting paid so much for their potential and what they will be, right? And I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if an ownership wants to take a risk on a guy and overpay him, that's on them. I'm not sure if there should be some kind. I know they have rookie deals and stuff like that, but even then, like there's, as AOH
and
say,
I think that one of the big,
you're kind of being overpaid from the beginning, right? So that was just kind of my thought on that. But we have another caller, King Speech. You're on if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, let me unmute. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Well, I know you guys have been ranting. I wanted to rant at Anthony Edwards this week because what he said just still bothers me, and I believe it's Clutch Sports fueled. But the idea that he thinks that Jordan was the only skilled player of his era is just ridiculous. And this is a guy who just got shut out by Derrick Jones. Derrick Jones, John Kidd basically took his cookies in the Western Conference Finals when he says that guys like Roe Blackman, Sprewell, Mitch Richmond. I mean, I'm looking at a highlight reel of the point guard back then dunking on big men, and we got KJ dunking on Hot Rod Williams in a convention center, putting his nuts in his face. And look at where the league is today. I mean, they got to understand this. You guys now make $50 million a year. He's gonna make $50, $60, $70 million a year, and he's disrespecting the guys that made a few $100,000 to $1 million too, who basically put him in his position. I mean, it's just like you're gonna say I didn't watch, you weren't even alive, and now you're gonna say that those guys had no skills. I mean, just think. I'm only thinking about the wings and the guards. I'm not even thinking about the big men who are just completely superior to the big men of today. But I'm thinking of the wings and the guards that he said had no skills, and Jordan was the only one. It's ridiculous.
Again, one of those things. It's like, how do we even have to explain this? Why do I even have to explain this? Why do we have adults? Why do we have adults saying things this embarrassing?
Yeah, I mean, again, he's a 2000s baby. He wasn't even alive for the Vince Carter dunk on Vice, right? You gotta remember that. Like he would come another year or two after Vince Carter hurdled Frederick Vice. Vince Carter played in Jordan. Like, I mean, when you think about guys that Jordan played against, Vince Carter actually played against Jordan. Yes, he did on the second run with the Wizards, but he still played against these guys. It's it's mind numbing. It really is that we have to defend what we watch against guys who weren't even around. The guys who weren't even they weren't even sperm cells.
Which alludes to the first part of that quote that you didn't even say yet. He said so many stupid things in one quote. He admits that he didn't watch, and then he proceeds to speak on it. And I know everyone's already had their they've already talked about that. I mean, and it goes without saying how dumb that is, but how does he sit there and say these things without hearing how dumb he is? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
I mean, again, is Derrick Jones Jr. basically, they were making excuses about how he hasn't been this far in the playoffs over his career, so he was getting tired. Like, are you kidding me? Kobe had 3 rings by the time he was he had 2 rings by the time he was Anthony Edwards' age now. So what are you talking about?
I found the out of shape comments hilarious as a Luka fan.
Thank you.
The fact that they started saying Anthony
player.
Edwards is tired, and I'm like, what is going on? Like I remember you guys calling Luka fat. Like what are these excuses?
Thank you. And Ant-Man is supposed to be an elite 4. He, if he wasn't an NBA, 80 games a year. Y'all want. If we didn't have 80% attendance back, you would get left back unless you had like a legitimate, like 30 days out of 180. That's more than 80%. Now you need to play less than 80% of the games to qualify for an award, so you can make $60 million down the road. And they're complaining about that. Then you're going to complain.
Yeah. King Speech, you're breaking up a little bit. I'm going to let you go, and then if you want to call back in, but
no problem. I'm not driving around.
Okay, yeah, we caught the last bit of that where essentially you're saying guys are the demands are less and they're getting paid even more. So,
hey, how can you expect Anthony Edwards to be in shape? He hasn't gotten paid yet.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm gonna let you go, King Speech.
That was a shame. He's such a man. He was going to be the face of the league. That's done now.
This is one of the big things that drives me crazy is like the style. It's just such a because they didn't do it back then. It just meant they weren't good enough to do it, right? And I don't think that's like a respect for the process and the evolution of the game, and it takes time for things to change and stuff like that, right? I mean, think about someone like Tim Hardaway or Mitch Richmond. To say like they didn't have handles or that no one back then could shake a guy down or anything like that and hit a turnaround or something like.
I was thinking Steve Francis.
It doesn't compute.
Steve Francis would bang on everybody this season.
Yeah, exactly.
How tall was he? 6'2"?
Yeah. Just because Steve Francis is a little more flashy, that means he's, better than someone like Bob Cousy or something like that.
Oh no, I'm saying Steve Francis will cook anybody in today's league.
Oh, in today's league, yeah. I was going to say the same going back the other way that. Because he plays a little bit more like guys like today, well, he's just automatically, so much better than anyone before him, right?
I mean, we're talking, Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill. If they played in today's game, we're talking. I don't know. That's maybe 1 and 2 in the league, or 2 and 3 at worst.
In 90s and 2000s was a lot more. There wasn't so much like one-on-one trying to get room by yourself, create. It was more quick passing, and once you got the ball, you either passed it or you made a move, right? And it was more. I can't remember who talked about it. We talked about playing John Stockton, right? He would just come right at him, hit an angle, boom, 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 and before you know it, he's got you inside the 3-point line, right? It's just a different style. It's just a different way of going about the game.
That's why when White Chocolate hit the scene, everybody was like, "Wait, what? What is this?" You know what I mean? And even before him, the first time Tim Hardaway ever crossed anybody over, they were, nobody even knew what the hell happened.
Yeah.
I remember T-Mac shaking the shit out of Kobe on one play, spinning him right out of the lane. And nobody talks about T-Mac. Again, another one. You guys talked about Vince Carter. T-Mac, never mind. Let me go ahead.
I feel dumb.
You're right. T-Mac was one of the best complete players in his prime that probably never gets talked about.
Never gets talked about.
It feels weird to even talk about this. I mean, there's so many skilled players. We shouldn't. I mean, I understand that we're ranting, but like, all you have to do is go and watch a couple of minutes of one game. Not only were they were skilled within the confines of actual strict rules.
Yeah, and there wasn't as much room for flash because, especially back then, right? How many times do you hear about they ran the triangle or they ran a certain offense, right? And it was more of a team strategy on the offensive end, correct? And there's not as much room for a guy just holding the ball out on the wing for 8 seconds and trying to make something happen.
Who even did that? Who even did that back in the 90s and 2000s? There weren't. Who was an ISO player? Like exclusively. I can't name one.
The ISO back in the day was the post up. That's even when Jordan. What would Jordan do as an ISO? He'd get you about 15 feet out. He'd have you on his back and see what was going on. Take a second. That's how, it wasn't so much a holding the ball and just trying to finesse one guy. It was still within trying to get the ball in a point. And from here, we can operate and launch our offense from here. All right. Should I give mine now?
Go for it.
Yeah.
This is going to be a little bit of a hot take, I think. So obviously the Mavericks went to the finals this year, and this is kind of like a 2-layer one. One thing that really is always grinding my gears is that the deeper of a playoff run you make, ultimately the more scrutiny and I think overreaction people have to if you fail. So like, for example, Luka, I think we all agreed going into the playoffs and really up to the finals was easily a top 5 player, right? I don't think anyone would have disagreed with that. And then after the finals, it's almost as if Luka fell out of the top 20 or 25, right? Because he got exposed a little bit on defense. Again, you could say he choked or they didn't perform well. He lost, whatever. But again, he got to the finals as, theoretically the second best team in the league. And I've always found the overreaction to the deeper you get, it seems they more and more overreact. They did this to Dirk. They did it to Tatum a little bit too. That's always just bugged me, right? That you're one of the last teams. You're one of the better teams. And somehow it seems to hurt you even more that you got that far in a way. I don't know if you guys feel the same.
Yeah, you've got modern examples and you got LeBron people that are doing it to the past. That like the fact that Michael had any losses in his history means that he's subject to, what about the getting swept by the Celtics? Like, nobody said you aren't allowed to lose on your way to the top. I mean, you're not guaranteed victories just because you're great. Now, LeBron tries to guarantee victories by stacking the deck in his favor. So whether he wins or loses, at that point, you already lost me. Stop stacking the deck.
Yeah,
but and they talked about they talked a lot about Luka's whining. There was a lot of that in the media. Which,
I don't like that as well. I'll admit that.
Yeah, but it still doesn't compare to LeBron's whining. I mean, where's the energy for that? I mean, honestly, as bad as Luka's whining is, does not even register in the same category as LeBron's whining. I mean, LeBron regularly looks like he's going to assault the refs.
It's like him and 3 other guys always surround the refs like one of them damn kung fu movies, and nobody says shit about it.
Yeah. And then
actually, real quick, in the comments, I saw something about 3 grown men lying. I'm really curious as to how an opinion is always equated to lying. And
that's
when we
what I was
talk about
say,
this,
yeah.
but when you switch gears, it's King James this, King James that. Well, he's not legally a king, so isn't that a lie? Also, I don't understand why we can't do that both ways.
Damn liars.
Yeah, you'll
is
say
is he a good father? Is that a lie? We don't know. Oh wait, it's an opinion. Oh shit, huh? Interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like they'll hear AOH say he cries all the time, and they'll be like, "Well, actually, he doesn't cry every second of every game. That's a lie." And it's like, okay, I think you're being a little dishonest about the conversation here.
They get stuck in the weeds. They get stuck in the little tricks in the argument.
Yeah. All right, but the second layer to that was actually, I think this is going to be a little more of a hot take, is this kind of goes with the Luka thing. I think the emphasis on two-way players on average these days is a little, or in the moment, maybe I'm getting caught in the moment right now. I don't think it's always been a 50-50 split between how good you are on offense and defense. I do think your ability to get a bucket or to manufacture offense as a point guard, maybe someone like a Nash or a Stockton, I always think that has been a little more valuable than what you give on the defensive end. And again, defense is a little bit more of a team scheme sometimes, right? Like not one or two guys can just totally take over a defense per se, but one or two guys on offense can in a way. So that might be a little bit of a hot take. So I'm just kind of grind my gears, is that I think it's really more like a 60-40, 70-30 split in terms of how important offense is to defense. I think you can cover weaknesses on defense much easier than trying to manufacture offense if you don't have the horses or the players. And so I'm just going to throw it out there. It's kind of grinding my gears. I don't think it is a 50-50 split, right? I don't think it is as equally important down to a player.
Really, that grinds your gears, huh?
A little bit. I feel like there's a, like 3-and-D guys or like I'm kind of getting, like I said, I might be in the moment with Luka that they're really like hounding his defense, right? As if we didn't see someone like Dirk, right, do what he did, even though he had a complete lack of defense as well. I just think it's sort of being overplayed in a way that like you have to be some kind of defensive stopper and not taking into account that Luka's like an entire offense on the other end by himself, something like that, if that makes sense.
What was the Luka Dirk comparison?
Well, just that remember Dirk's big knock was he had no defense. Like he just was a defensive liability. But again, we saw that, you can sort of work around that or scheme that. And what he brought on the offense was much more valuable than his lack of defense.
Well, let me ask you, as a Mavs fan, would you rather take Dirk in his prime or Luka in his prime?
For the fact that Dirk won a championship, I feel like that's the default. But I'll be real honest. Luka does so much more than Dirk did. It's just the way it is. Again, it depends on scheme. You get someone who puts Dirk in a better position than how they run an offense through Luka, that's going to be much better, right? I do think, again, it's how you use him. You get Dirk in a spot and a defense has to come to him, right? And he's always going to get a shot off. But Luka's passing and his wizardry and even his overall scoring, 3-level scoring is probably better than Dirk's as well. I would probably have to go at their best. Probably Luka is going to give me more output than Dirk.
I'd go Dirk, I think, based on the championship and based on just like kind of his grit, the way he plays. Like, yeah, he bitched a little bit later on in his career, but nowhere near on Luka's level. And he at least appeared in game shape. He was up and down the floor at least every play, and he was banging on the inside literally every play. So I don't know. I think I'd rather take Dirk.
Taking like the legacy into account, like, yes, that's what I mean. Like the default answer is Dirk, right? Until Luka kind of surpasses that. But when you say prime, I guess I'm thinking who can give me the ultimate best game on any given night. I think it's Luka, right? The 72, 73 point game, the 60 point triple double, right? Dirk just didn't do stuff quite like that in the way that Luka manufactures it.
I'll read a couple of comments. Somebody, hello back to you, Hayden Phoenix. Bothers me. Binary Bard said, side gripe, it bothers me. Says that
sorry. Good.
Players don't get up unless their teammate helps them up. Bro, get up already. Yeah, they do. They just lay there and expect it. That is a little bit annoying now that you mention it. But the traveling, constantly expecting fouls, and lots of iso ball are main gripes. It is so boring, the iso ball. People finally jog down to the other side, and then it's like, okay, it's even more standing still. But out of all of those, it's the expecting fouls. And the reason is because you can tell the players now don't even have the intention of making the shot. They have the intention of drawing a foul when they go up. Like the intentionally uncoordinated motion, the flailing before they've even released the ball or been touched. That's pretty gross, man. It's a manipulation of the game. Yes, getting foul calls helps you win. Going to the free throw line helps you win. Making the defenders on the other team go to the bench helps you win. Are you playing in a classy way? I mean, are you making the game better? Like from a fan standpoint, it has to be a no, because the game constantly stops thanks to the refs buying into this. The great players are out. You're like, again, to the skill thing. How do I even know if you're skilled? You're not even trying to make the basket. You're trying to fucking flop. How can I measure your skill when half the time you're not even trying to show us how skilled you are? You're trying to
that's
manipulate
part of the skill
game.
now. AOH, that's considered skill now.
All right.
That's probably a slider on 2K.
Out of Gilbert Arenas' own mouth, it's a skill.
Oh, that's right. He did say that.
What a
all right, real quick. We got a caller.
Oh, cool.
Hey, both of them came in.
Dre, you got something you want to add or vent on?
Oh man, all that crying LeBron be doing. Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Man, why LeBron still playing, man? He supposed to retire 20, 30 years ago, because he really ain't that talented, man. He a alright basketball player for, like, he all right, man. I think the only reason he's still in the league because of Clutch Sports and all the, they hyped him up when he was coming out of high school. You know what I'm saying? They always trying to put him in front of Jordan, Kobe, but you know what I'm saying? Jordan went to college. You know what I'm saying? Jordan had more points. Now all their points, man, don't nobody want to hear all these points. Is how good you was in your prime. That's what we all look at. You know what I'm saying? LeBron look like Karl Malone out there to us. You know what I'm saying? We don't respect no crossover. We don't respect all them layups, all the missed layups. We don't respect none of that. Then you just got embarrassed at the Olympics with the but the don't man. Come on, man. Kobe, Jordan, they ain't allowed stuff like that. We ain't, man. To me, Allen Iverson better than LeBron. Tracy McGrady better than LeBron. I don't think they got the opportunity that LeBron got. You know what I'm saying? They can move pieces around to make their team greater or better. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like Kobe ain't get the start soon as he, you know what I'm saying, got to the team and stuff. I just feel like the LeBron talk should be dead. What y'all think about Brandon though? Y'all think Brandon gonna start? You know what I'm saying? Let's get back on their Brandon situation, saying they hyped him up just like LeBron. He, you know what I'm saying? Y'all gave him a contract. What I want to know what Brandon gonna do.
I don't think he's gonna start. I'll say that. I don't think they'll go that far.
LeBron's
I wouldn't be shocked
playing.
if they did.
I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't think they will.
LeBron, the great father and husband, doesn't want to go home. You know, he made enough money a long time ago that if he was a family man, he should have gone home. But he's got one of them big old San Antonio women waiting for him.
Hey, how long he gonna chase Jordan though? I don't feel like he passed Kobe though. How long he gonna chase Jordan though? 30 more years?
Oh, I've already said he'll never pass him, because even if they win another ring, it will not be because LeBron put the team on his back and carried him, right? It will at best be a 50-50 split with someone like Anthony Davis, for example, right? I don't think he's at a point in his career where he can capture that aura again of taking a team to the promised land.
So the Boba ring, he got MVP. I know he ain't get MVP the Boba championship. You know what I'm saying? How he get that? And then they always talk about Miami, but then he had to get behind D Wade to learn how to win and stuff like that. How we gonna count that first or second ring or whatever? I don't get that.
Yeah, I've always said LeBron's really lucky he won that ring in Cleveland. He is really lucky, because I think without that one, I think his sort of legacy is looked at it's looked at more of like a Kevin Durant and the way he won his.
Absolutely.
I think he's really lucky he got that one in Cleveland.
Oh, it changed everything. And I turned off basketball again for a while after the Warriors allowed that to happen. And I know there was a lot of help from the league to get LeBron that ring. But not only was I mad that the Warriors lost, but it literally saved LeBron James from finally disappearing into the abyss. You know, maybe the league would have finally been like, okay, we invested enough in this guy and it's just not going to happen. And
I agree.
You know, his whole story's been so fake that the fact that he got to number 3 finally on another super team suddenly created this conversation that he might be the GOAT, even though he's like light years away from other people's accomplishments. Not just Jordan's accomplishments, but many other people's accomplishments. He's not even near Kobe at that point. So none of that mattered.
All right, Jay, got anything else?
Hey, what about the little Baco and PEDs? That y'all don't think they're gonna come out?
Once he retires.
I've done an hour-long video. If people want to look it up, I think he did PEDs. But to be fair, I think a lot of professional athletes do. If we're gonna go all the way down to something like Adderall, I think probably over half of athletes do something. That's just
shut up on that now. What's that mean? That just helps you focus more.
Well, I mean, by the league standard, it's like a banned substance, right? I'm just saying if you go that low, then I think a lot of guys are on, something, if you want to classify it like that.
Yeah, I just mentioned it because I just started hearing it,
Yeah. All right, Dre, we're gonna move on.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Can I want to get this out before I forget. Keyshawn Johnson grinds my gears, but not just for the LeBron stuff. Like, tuck your goddamn shirt in. Like, this is a professional. It's supposed to be a professional role. You're on TV. Like, or if you're the camera crew, like, you can't let that happen. Like, the lack of professionalism, like, kind of across the board, specifically with basketball, it seems, not all sports, but just basketball, is wild to me. And the forced comedy that, like, ESPN tries to get off is the cringiest shit I have ever seen. It's like they're trying to do what NBA on TNT does, but nobody can do that but them. And every show has tried to replicate that since, and I haven't seen anything close. And Stephen A. Smith is not funny. Molly Qerim is not funny. That old man that yells a lot, Mad Dog Russo, he's probably coked up the entire time. It's just, none of it's funny, none of it's entertaining.
You got to know Mad Dog's background, because he and his co-host back in the day changed sports radio. That's the way that Mad Dog always was. He actually there's actually a 30 by 30 on him. That's how I know who Mad Dog is. So, but Keyshawn, besides all the other things that you said, he makes absolutely zero effort to be prepared. He probably doesn't even know what the topic is when he walks into the studio. No, he doesn't. He just sits there and asks people what the stats are. He hasn't prepared enough to even be able to pronounce the names of who you're going to talk about that day.
Mm-hmm.
No, zero preparation. He's not the only one, but it's bad. Just get up there and spew BS out of your mouth.
Tim Hardaway ain't that great either. You try to get him to say Victor Wembanyama, and it's like you got to stop the show. And it's like that's like the small little things that you should be able to get right as a professional that's on television 4 out of 7 days a week. Also, if you check the title, we're airing grievances, grinding our gears, young disciples. So we're not always crying. I'm gonna just start commenting just for the sake of content. We're not crying. Let's talk about what's grinding our gears. It's interesting.
Airing of the grievances.
Yeah, it's interesting how that gets manipulated.
All right, we got another caller. F, you're on live. You got something you want to vent on?
Oh, yes. Good evening here. I'm from the Philippines. I had a lot of, gripes to rant on.
Give us your biggest one.
Thing. Well, number one thing, my goodness. Well, you've been talking about this like consistently. LeBron fans, the zealots, those jock sniffers, as Scap Attack has um, coined them. And well, earlier have this, I have this, I got into an argument with a LeBron zealot online, saying that, oh, uh, they're they're very let's say dismissive of the early years of LeBron's career. Like, oh, they've conveniently ignore and forget that he missed, like the first two seasons, first two in his first two seasons of his career, he missed the playoffs. They conveniently forget that. And then earlier. I got into an argument with a fan who said, like, LeBron already beat the Pistons team with Ben Wallace. I said, what? He lost that series in seven in 2006, the second round, Eastern Conference semifinals. And then I said, and you know what? I dropped some knowledge on him, saying, LeBron had a great chance to win game six of that series and win the series overall. But you know, he only had like two shot attempts in the fourth quarter of that game six.
Mhm.
And one of them is the 3-pointer that he bricked. And before that 3-pointer, he turned over the ball, which led to the Pistons scoring. That 3-pointer that he bricked would have been, put the Cleveland Cavaliers within striking distance. But you know, they conveniently forget that. Oh man, it's really
So
I
you,
don't
so
know
you
if,
hate so you hate that they don't acknowledge the early part of his career.
like, yeah, like they conveniently ignore the parts wherein that
Gotcha.
Well,
Warren.
the caller has actually a good point. A lot of times we focus on just LeBron's most epic failures, such as 2011. But the more I go back and analyze his games, these things weren't new. LeBron not only didn't hit the big shots, but he actually turned the ball over uh, in a really detrimental manner in crucial moments. And it was his whole career. It's not just recent history. And a lot of that does get glazed over. We have so many examples of LeBron shitting the bed when it matters that it's hard to pick a few. The people that want to crap on Michael, you've got like a couple of examples. Everybody wants to talk about the Nick Anderson thing. Yeah, okay, take it. Go ahead. Undeniable. You have one versus about 100 examples that I can provide off the top of my head. Guys, I got to bounce. Sorry.
Okay.
I got to go before 10.
No worries, man. All right, F. You got one quick last comment?
You know what? Shout out to you guys. I've been watching recently especially AOH. I've been watching his videos, and it's really funny but insightful as well. And also, man, really, this LeBron fandom, this zealotry, and well, LeBron himself and his Clutch Sports Media. My goodness, I've never seen like this before, anything like this before,
Okay.
and damn, it's
All
very
right.
very really egregious. Thank
Thank
you,
you for calling.
thank you.
Thank you, F.
Yeah.
Don't
All right.
yeah, if you can, don't. I was gonna say, don't end it yet because there were a couple of people in if you don't mind, there were a
No,
couple
I
of
don't
people
care.
in the chat saying, "Look, what's the number?" and all that, and I'm not gonna be like a hypocrite and
I
say,
dropped the.
not
I
give
saw.
someone a
I saw
platform.
someone ask for the number, and I dropped the
Yeah.
link again. So, whoever wants to come on or is asking for a number, it's that link I dropped in the chat.
I love it. It's like, I don't know, because in the grand scheme of things, none of it means anything, right? Like it has
Yeah,
no.
I always say
It's
like
like the presidential race.
nobody
It
owns
doesn't, right?
basketball, right? People should
Right.
not take it like get. I mean, it's cool to have an opinion and go back and forth, and it can even get heated. But as soon as you step away, like it doesn't matter,
Right. The Steelers win the Super Bowl. It's not like my student loans are paid off. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
that's cool.
I'm not going to get a raise into work whenever the
Right.
Mavs win or lose.
Right. We had a parade when we destroyed the city. Great.
Yeah.
No, I don't have to go to work tomorrow. That's good.
But yeah, I dropped that one. I dropped the link again. And yeah, so one thing I wrote it down, kind of what I wanted to end on. This has always been like my biggest, what grinds my gears, I guess, with this channel, if we're going to talk specifically about LeBron, is just the whole PR campaign, right? The whole everything. And I've said this and I'll say it till the day I die, probably. Everything feels staged to him. Everything, he has to have his book out when people come and he's on the bike and he's, and he has to, when he comes in, he's got to be having his briefcase. He's got to look a certain way. Everything just feels like, and on one aspect, I understand, right? Because you more than anyone in the NBA is under the biggest microscope, in a way. And I understand it, but you have to leave a little bit of authenticity, right? Like people want to know the real you. And I understand he kind of lets his opinions on things be known as well. But in terms of just being on the camera, right? He always feels like right before all the cameras walked in, he looked around everybody and he said, "How do I look? How do I look?" Everyone's like, "Good. Oh yeah, let me tilt your hat just a little bit, and then it's like, okay, now let him in, right?" Everything just feels like a photo op with him. And I've always hated that about LeBron.
I don't think he's been that way his entire career.
Definitely not.
As you were talking, I was trying to think what's the most authentic moment I've ever seen LeBron have, in my opinion. And I will say when he was with Miami and some of those runs he went on and he looked like straight pissed off and he was going to the paint and playing like probably how he should have his entire career. I was like, okay, that looks like real basketball. Like dude wants to put buckets up, or that 28 point streaky, what was it, 28, 30 points against Detroit, like with Cleveland. It's like those were authentic moments. Or when he was yelling at his mom to sit the hell down and shut the hell up. Like, yeah, that's not a good look, but I think he was actually that angry and actually, because if he cared about his public image, he wouldn't be doing that on national television, right?
Right.
But those are like authentic, angry moments. And since then, everything does come off as literally everything comes off as manufactured. Every moment is captured on TV. Now, granted, they are shooting a documentary. I think it's a 30 for 30. And it's all supposed to be recorded, but at the end of the day, it's more brand than it is basketball. And that's been, I don't think that can be argued when you look at the numbers, when you look at the money involved. And again, that's just opinion.
Yeah. And I think in my opinion, this all started with the decision. I think he became sort of like cognizant of the PR side of things, right? That felt like the first kind of, I'm going to plan something and like, I want it to go like this and again, that's going to be LeBron's career as a decision. That's where people either he lost and you started hating him, or you just said, hey, he's just I'm just going to watch him and see what happens. Right. But I was going to say, I remember cheering for him when he first came out. And I thought, man, all this pressure on this kid, it'd be great to see him just shut people up. And I'm the first one to say, I think overall he's done a pretty good job considering he was supposed to be the best ever, right? He's lived up to the hype very well. But I remember watching him in his rookie game, right? And it was just so infatuating to watch him and just all these things that were around him, right? And seeing how well he did his rookie game. And it was kind of like, yeah, this kid is NBA now. Like he's ready, right? I mean, you could see just the physical attributes. He belonged out there, right? And then, yeah, just slowly over time, it's just ever since the decision, it just all became AstroTurf, it felt like, right? And so I think that's just one of the things I've always hated about LeBron. It drives me crazy.
What do you think it's going to look like after he retires? What do you think Bronny's media campaign is going to be like, assuming, because I'm not going to hate on the child ever, assuming his career goes well, which it may or may not. What do you think his media push is going to be? Because at that point, now you're going to have son going against father in terms of marketability. And and to their credit, I don't think that's ever been done before.
Well, I hate to say the narcissistic side of LeBron. I think he knows his kid will never be as good as him, right? Which, of course, is nothing to be ashamed of or anything like that. So I don't think LeBron, feels threatened by him in any way in terms of that, the popularity kind of thing. So, and he does seem to back his kids, right? Come hook or by crook, right? I think LeBron wants his name and legacy, even if it's by means of his kids, to be as good as possible. And I can respect that. We've talked about this, like as a dad, to say you wouldn't want to play in the NBA with your son, you'd be lying to yourself, right?
Right.
And I understand that part of it. And I don't think LeBron per se feels threatened by him. So I think LeBron will continue to support him. I think Bronny has a good chance here to pivot, though, and maybe be, not take himself so seriously, right? I think if he does a good job with that, he can become endearing in a way, right? Kind of the same thing with a young LeBron. All this pressure on him, even if we all think he's never going to be an all-star or anything like that, just if he can let it seem like it is not getting to him, and that, hey man, I'm just here to play ball and be the best player I can. I think he can turn a lot of people around, even on the LeBron haters a little bit, right? And if he can come off like, hey, I'm not expecting to be an MVP, and I'm not going to command the attention of someone who's never won an MVP or achieved anything yet, right? I think he's got a chance to kind of turn some people around and be like, hey man, I like this kid. Like, this kid isn't going to be LeBron. He is not going to be Jordan, but I like him. Like, he seems to be aware of himself, right? And I think that would be the best possible outcome for them.
I agree about the endearing part, because I noticed that even like when he speaks in the media, he's very modest. He's very. It doesn't seem like he's careful. It doesn't seem like he's kind of like fine-tooth combing what he's saying. He's just saying whatever comes to his head, and that goes back to that genuine part that LeBron probably lost like 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
Which for some reason reminded me, talking about stuff that grinds our gears, every signature plan having to have a stupid ass thing that they do after they shoot, like ice trays cold bullshit, or the ice in the veins bullshit.
Oh yeah,
because to me the original like thing was the Iverson over Tyrone loose step over. And you still see players trying to, mimic that today. But now every time somebody hits a shot, there's some weird thing that they do, and it's all for marketing. And it's like, yo, you're down by 18 points. Like, get up, get back up the floor. And that's bothersome to me.
Yeah, so I think football, unfortunately, is the culprit here on this one. I think with like the touchdown celebrations, I think, pulling out the cell phone, was it Joe Horn or something? And Randy Moss, I think that's kind of where it started. But I will never forget when I felt just like what you said. I was watching my team, A&M Aggies football, and they were playing Oklahoma, and they were getting crushed, and they were down by like 4 touchdowns. And it's like fourth quarter, the game's almost over. The game is over essentially, right? And this defensive lineman on A&M makes a nice play, gets a sack, right? And he just gets up and starts, like you said, beating his chest and like making an entire scene. And I'm just like, bro, we're down by 4 touchdowns. We just got our asses kicked up and down the field all day. You look like a total ass right now. I will never forget that exact moment where I said, celebrating has gone too far, right? Like, it needs to mean something when you do something, right? It can't just be a dunk in the first quarter. It can't just be some jumper you made in the second quarter, right? If you hit a game winner over someone like Rudy Gobert and then you want to fucking let the crowd know what's up, that's a little different, right? But it really needs to mean something when you do something like that.
Especially if it's fucking Rudy Gobert.
Yeah. I think it was so funny when that happened. For once, it felt like everyone was cheering for us instead of. I know that Luka's got a lot of haters too, but it felt like even the Luka haters were like, "I'm glad he hit that shot on Rudy."
Rudy Gobert does that shit to himself though. He's a body in the paint. That's cool, and he actually plays defense. I think there's something to be said about that. But I don't know. He
looks like a total newborn gazelle out there sometimes, though.
He does, or like a giraffe learning how to walk for the first time.
All right, we got a caller.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Bookie Allen, you got something you want to vent on?
What up, Bookie?
What's up, man?
I'm good.
I'm so tired of Isaiah Thomas. You just don't get it, man. You heard what he said the other day?
I didn't hear it. Tell us.
He said that Scottie Pippen could have won multiple championships without Michael Jordan. Man, here he goes again with this bull crap.
When did he say this recently? He said this
That dude,
recently?
yes.
Okay. I hadn't heard that one yet.
Yeah, talking about him and Tony Kukoc was good enough to win multiple titles. I'm like, why they didn't win in '94 when Jordan was gone?
Or even when they got Jordan back.
Yeah. In the middle of the
that's
season.
interesting to think about that. The year Jordan came back at the end, had they won a ring that year, Pippen would have gotten a lot of credit for that. Probably, maybe even more than Jordan, depending on how the playoffs go down.
Yeah,
that's a big missed opportunity, I think.
He just had another quote. Actually, did a video on it. He said something about he just repeated himself, talking about there hasn't been a player like LeBron James and he's the GOAT. Something. He just repeated it, and ESPN ran with the story like it was brand new, like
I don't take
this great information.
I don't take that Isaiah Thomas take serious.
Yeah,
you can't, and it's. The bias is so clear as day, and it's nobody on the other side of it points it out, at least not to his face.
You can't tell me he's not harboring a little bit of animosity towards Jordan still after all they went through. I feel like that's still kind of his big driving motivation.
Yeah, him and Scottie Pippen both then lost they mad. That's why Jordan not even paying them guys no attention.
Pippin's wrong for a way worse reason.
Yeah,
a way deeper
more
reason.
than that. All right, anything else?
Family.
No, that's it. That's all. I was just letting y'all know.
All right, thanks, man.
All right,
have a good one.
All right.
There's still people in the chat that were talking about calling in.
Are people
give them some time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting out the link. I'll put it in there one more time.
Yeah, there's one more time. So who's the next? You got to pick one. Who's the next face of the league? Got to name one.
It's got to be Luka or Shea, I guess. I would put it up between those two. I mean, I think Luka's kind of deserving of it now. I know he hasn't. It's probably still Jokic right now. And then legacy-wise, I mean, you have to throw LeBron in there, but I don't think he's the prime face right now. He's kind of like the godfather of the current NBA in a way, in terms of people who are actually playing.
Yeah.
So it's probably still Jokic, and fair enough. But it's kind of got to be Luka or Shea, I think, are up next. Luka's still 25, I think.
I didn't know that. Yeah, he was playing professional ball at like 14.
I think he turns 26 in October or something like that. So he's almost 26.
Man, he looks way older than that. And that sounds like an insult, but it's not. But I did not know he was that young. But I mean, shit, Anthony Davis isn't even 30 yet, right?
Anthony Davis? Oh, I'm not sure about him.
I thought he was way older too. I think he's young.
Anthony Davis is, where's his age? He is 30. He's 31 and a half.
30. Jesus. Like, that's so young.
That is still pretty young.
So you forget that, because dude could have been a healthy Anthony Davis is
his first year in the league. He was 19. Yeah.
Best player in the league if he's healthy and gives a shit.
Yeah, he really, yes. People used to say that, and I didn't really watch him closely when he was in New Orleans. But yeah, like and what's funny about him, I kind of got a new respect for him. He played point guard, I think, all throughout high school or something like that. And then he grew like 6 inches in a summer. And so he moved to post. And that's why he has such good handles and a good shot. He literally used to play point guard.
But that's also, I think, why he's so injury prone. Because he hit that too. He hit that growth spurt, I think like over like less than a year.
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
Totally
that's a lot to put on your body.
That is so unnatural. Like a lot of people used to say that. I wish I could grow 4 inches in a summer. I used to think that too. And you'd always pray for it to the basketball gods every day, right?
Right.
And then now I think about it, and I'm like without shoes, I'm like 5'11" and 3/4, right? That's my like official height. And I think like, yeah, being 6'2", 6'3" would be nice, but you get to 6'5", 6'6", and outside of basketball reasons, it's really not as fun as people might want to think.
I was going to say, I'm only 6'1", so it's like a little bit above average height. But I'd imagine if you're like 6'5", 6'6", and not playing basketball, everyone's just going to walk around and say you're tall for no reason, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because what do
Yeah,
you
I
do?
mean,
What can you do casually?
and
that
I
tall?
understand that girls like tall guys or whatever, but I'm just talking about your daily getting in and out of a
Right.
car, you know, like moving in and out of crowds and things like that. Like it's just buying clothes, right? Everything just becomes like a process in a way.
Right. And you like you can't sit in regular places and everybody looks at you funny in the restaurant because you're always the one sitting in the middle.
Yeah.
And those tall dudes always date like the shortest girls too. That's the other
Yeah.
crazy thing. And it's not even just by comparison. It's like these 4'8", 4'9" women. And it's just like,
you know, the guy who played the Mountain in Game of Thrones,
yeah,
Bjorn, whatever his name is.
yeah.
Him and his girlfriend, like you should look at them. It's comical, like the difference.
The chick from Heroes was dating or married to like Vladimir Klitschko or something.
Yeah. The boxer.
Yeah.
The Klitschkos,
I mean,
yeah.
He's probably hurting that poor girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's weird.
Goat Toast Hoops just said, I'm 6'7", and yes, clothes and cars aren't easy.
See, it's not all.
Yeah.
It can't be all glitz and glam. I'd imagine. Granted,
It's not all roses on the other side. Yeah.
I wish I was 6'7". I'd trade you. I think for a day until like my shins start hurting just from walking around.
All right. It doesn't look like anyone else is calling in. We want to go ahead and shut it down.
Dang. Yeah. I guess so. Someone actually already did it. I'm gonna give a little bit of pushback to the Shea Gildress thing. With him being an OKC, you're not gonna make him the face of the league. He's gonna have to go. He's gonna have to go. Not Knicks. Probably. Oh, if he ends up with the damn Clippers, I'm gonna lose it.
Jalen Brunson could be a dark horse. I don't think he's got the wow athletic factor that, at least Luka, right? At least Luka's 6'7", and it's cool to see a big guy with the ball like that. Jalen Brunson, man, I really like his game, and I think he's a good player. I could see them maybe trying to push him. He's in New York, but I just don't think he's got the wow factor that's going to get him over the top. No. And of course, Wemby. We forgot Wemby, of course, but he's still so young. He's on a good path, though. I don't see why it couldn't be him.
He's got a killer instinct too. Also, let me shout out Jim Brown, Speed Engine, aka Bomani Jefferson. That's the funniest fucking thing I ever, because I get it. That's funny as shit. I don't know if you were trying to come up my neck, but that's funny. I might take that.
Jim Brown said Zion. No way, Zion. I think that train that ship has sailed.
Well, that ship sailed when that stripper put all his business out there and ruined his life, basically.
Yeah,
the NBA can't do nothing with that.
Again, I hate to knock on a guy's weight. I don't like to sort of deflect, but that is a lot of body to be doing cuts like that and an explosive as he is. I just think he's got to lose some weight, man. It's fun seeing a fullback play basketball. Don't get me wrong. Right. It's exciting as hell, but it just doesn't lend well to, I think, long-term stability in his frame.
He's got to get out of New Orleans. That team's not putting him under enough pressure to make those changes.
And
he's been doing whatever he wants.
Yeah, and what's crazy is I will give Zion this. When he's been healthy, man, he is the real deal. He does look like that guy we thought he could be, but he always breaks down, and it's just, I think it's just the way his body's built. It's just not meant for long-term 82-game season type of grueling contest.
But he'll change a game. He'll change a game for you in 6 possessions.
Yep. Man, yeah, you're right. Talk about lightning in a bottle. He probably would be that guy if healthy.
Isn't it wild, him and John Morant in college? That was a conversation. And now look at both of them. Absolute top of the mountain type players. And look where they are now.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And what's so frustrating with Ja too is I understand, I'm on the outside looking in on this part, but just the whole wanting to be a part of that culture when you're a multi-millionaire, it's never appealed to me, man. It's like driving home drunk when you can get an Uber, because money's not an issue. It's just, I don't understand why you're putting yourself in these situations, and I get you're a grown man, you could do whatever you want, but you got to be a little smarter, I would just think. And it's really frustrating the way he's gone about it.
Nick, you can't count their pockets. That's not fair.
Yeah. And like, I'm not here to tell anyone what to do, but it just like from a risk reward kind of thing, how do you not just say, you know what, I'm just gonna not do that, And I think go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, if I was in a league, I'm getting my whatever the fuck the male equivalent of getting your tubes tied is. What the fuck is it?
Vasectomy?
Yeah, I'm getting a vasectomy. Like, you're not gonna catch me in nothing if I'm worth like millions and billions of dollars. That should be like part of like their NBA media trading. Like, there should be like, they should take it right to the doctors and be like, all right, like, this is how quick a vasectomy is. Think about this, and then think about losing half your net worth over the next 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, guys might want to have kids and whatnot, but I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like Deshaun Watson, it's like, why? Like, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. Like, what are you doing?
I don't understand.
And you could do it other ways that are just much more above board, and you can still get what you want,
And legal. You can do all that shit in Vegas for free.
Yeah, dude. It's just, man. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, there's another rant from us before we go, I guess.
Well, no, another cry from us.
Yeah. All right. Any last words?
No. I appreciate the show. Appreciate being on here. I appreciate the back and forth with the chat room. I hope none of them take it personal, and if they do, I mean, that's cool. I don't care that much. I certainly don't. But again, I appreciate this. Appreciate you. Shout out to everyone who's not here.
100%. And as usual, I'm gonna lead off with the proper exit, and that is